Hello, intrepid followers, watchers, and subscribers to my YouTube videos. It's Joel from SD, and I'm here to talk to you about my review and reaction to Iron Fist. Iron Fist. It's the latest, and in my opinion, one of the best of the 4 Netflix series that Marvel has done. So the first one was Daredevil. They did 2 seasons of Daredevil, and then they had Jessica Jones, then they did Luke Cage, and now they did Iron Fist. So if you don't know much about those characters, I'm not going to get into that today, because that's each of those characters, that's going to take a while. So instead, what I want you to do is, in the link below, I put a link to a website for a guy named Jason Inman, and he has a great podcast where he talks about all those characters. It's called Geek History Lesson. So go look for Geek History Lesson. Go listen to the podcast. It's great information. If you're not into listening and you want to read something, I've also put a link to the Wikipedia site where you can find out more about each of those characters. So what we're going to do, though, is we're just going to focus on one of those, and that's Iron Fist. This guy right here behind me. This is a print of a picture of him. So as you may or may not know, he's a guy who ended up in this mysterious village in the Himalayas, the Tibetan Himalayas, and learned all these really cool martial arts, and became like this great martial artist who had this power to focus his chi into his hand and do amazing things with it. So this TV series, just like the other TV series, it takes a different look or different view of the character. It gets rid of a lot of some of the more campy kind of 70s kind of stuff that went with the character, because that was when the character was created. It makes it more modern. There are some good parts and some bad parts. So let's talk about the good, and then we'll get into the bad. Okay? So the good parts. I liked that it wasn't as graphic, it wasn't as violent, and it wasn't as sexual as some of the other 4 movies or TV series were. So the other 4 TV series that came out, some of them were much more graphic or sexual or violent. This one wasn't as much. I liked that we got to see a character still in his, well, all of them, we saw most of the characters in their early stages of who they were becoming a hero. His was a little different because he went from being stuck in almost like a different time of place. And so, he had all these things happen when he was 10. He hasn't been around American culture since then, so everything's like a culture shock for him. So it's all weird to him, like what people are doing and saying. He has an iPod, like an original iPod, at the very beginning of the movie, and it's got music from 10 years ago, almost 15 years ago, really, I think. So it's sort of funny to see this person who's sort of stuck at being a 10-year-old, but they're not a 10-year-old, they're an adult, they're in their 20s. And I liked that it was sort of like what a 20-year-old would be going through. Okay, you're an adult now, you need to take care of adult things, do adult things, have adult decisions you have to make. And he's like, I'm not ready, I was just a kid, what's going on? So it was great in that respect. I liked the way they use special effects in a really great way. Some of the other TV series, they really didn't have very many special effects in them. So this was the first one that really had some special effects, having his arm. So like in the picture right here, it sort of shows it glowing off of it. They actually had it where his arm would start to glow inside, and it was glowing. So it was really cool how it was this yellowish, brownish, orangish color coming up through his arm. You could see some of the veins and the bone, as if it was coming out of his bones and his veins, and it was making everything glow. It was really cool. I liked the fact that they didn't get, like I said earlier, too campy. The characters were relatable and real, and now there wasn't a lot of I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, I think the guy that got to play him was really good. He's got that skinny, lanky look, which Iron Fist does. He's always drawn very lanky and skinny, and he had that look. Yeah, sure, he does have muscles, but he's not like, he's not like Luke Cage, or he's not like Daredevil, where he's got really like he's got to look ripped. He's got this lean, sinewy look because that's what he is. Um, I liked the introduction of the characters that they brought in. They brought in Colleen Wing, another supporting character from the storylines. They brought in. They changed some things though, like they gave the Meachams, who were the other family that helped his father start the corporation. They gave him a brother and a sister instead of a brother and an uncle that he was involved with, and it was interesting to see that dynamic play out. Uh, they used a lot of mental health stuff in it. I thought it was interesting how they used that to play on the idea of, okay, maybe you're just, you've been away, you've been traumatized, you've come up with this weird like idea of who you are and what's going on, but in reality it was what was true. Uh, it was interesting to see some homages to things from the comic book. In the comic book storylines, the recent ones, there was a story where Iron Fist had to fight these other superheroes from these other like cities that were connected to the city he came from, Kunlun, and they sort of had a part where he was fighting these characters, and some of them were sort of like a homage to those characters. One of them being related to like a Black Widow, not like a Black Widow like the comic book character, but like a spider. It was really cool to see that character, and I was like, first I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a homage to that storyline where he had to like to wrestle and fight these people to be the champion of the heaven that they came from. So it was really cool to see that homage in there. I don't think too many people, from what I saw of people talking about on Twitter and other social media, not really talking about that too much. And I thought that was really, really cool. Another amazing thing I liked about it was um, he didn't come across as too arrogant. You have like Batman, who's a billionaire, and you have Iron Man, who's a billionaire. Whereas Danny Rand, Iron Fist, he's not like out for the money. He doesn't really see the money, and like his character wants his name, he wants what his back, but he doesn't care about the money. He's like, oh, well, okay, well, I'll just buy that. But he's not arrogant about it. Like Colleen Wing's building, like he buys her building, which it does happen in the comic books. So he's a little different than the other billionaires we know of from the comic books, which is great. Um, so let's get into some of the not so good stuff, the bad stuff in a way. So a lot of people, well, actually, this is one thing that I thought was good. So a lot of people thought was a bad thing, but I disagree with. I think it was pretty good. Is he wasn't immortal? Like he could still be hurt. He could still get in pain. He could still get cut down. He can get stabbed. He could get wounded. And some people were like, "Oh, he shouldn't be doing that." I'm like, "Dude, he's human." They never in the comic book said he was like, uh, like he couldn't be cut or he couldn't be shot at. That's something that's true. He can. Um, Also, the amount of action in the movie in the TV series, there wasn't as much, and in that respect, I was like, oh, okay, there's not as much, but they wanted to make it, I think, not just about him being an action. Like it wasn't about him being like an action hero or something. It was about him growing into being the Iron Fist and becoming who he was at the very end. And so a lot of people were like anticlimactic feelings about the fighting and the action scenes, and I loved that it wasn't just about being an action movie. It wasn't action for action's sake. Like there was a reason he'd fight and what would happen in it. And I thought that was really, really great that they did that. Other people I've read and heard from, they didn't like it as much, but I thought it was great the amount they did. But yeah, that leads into the bad stuff. So some of the bad stuff that I didn't like was the way he was always so angry and angsty, like very emo. It's like, okay, I don't think Danny Rand in the comic books was that emo, but they decided to make him this way, and it was very much like, I need to get it, I need to get it. Like, okay, well, need to get what? Like, what do you want? Revenge? Like, do you want like, you feeling bitter? Do you like? So he had trouble like telling his friends and his family what he wanted from them, and he was always upset. He was upset a lot, and not really knowing why. Like he wasn't very good at expressing it. But again, of course, he's a 20-year-old, so that still can happen in your 20s, not being able to express yourself very well verbally. Some of the times that they were supposed to be going to, there were supposed to be times they were going to China, and it just didn't feel like it was China. Like they were trying too hard to make a location look like it was somewhere overseas, and it just wasn't working. Oh, let's just put an Asian American man looking disheveled like he's homeless in front of some crates in front of a building, and there's no one else around. Because when you're homeless, you're gonna hang out in front of one building that's not like the others. Like it just didn't fit. Like just did not fit. I didn't particularly like the way they brought Claire in, who's known as the night nurse. I thought she had some funny moments, and she brought some levity to what was going on. There's a few scenes where she was like, "Oh, come on, guys, can you just not be so angsty?" Or what is it? I don't get it. You're an Iron Fist, so what's that mean? I felt like it was sort of like they were pushing her into the storyline. They're trying too hard. Like for some reason they couldn't bring in the Daredevil. They couldn't bring in Matt Murdock for some reason, but they brought in someone from that series by being Claire, and then they brought in someone from Jessica Jones. Oh, that was another good thing. So the person they did bring in from Jessica Jones, Carrie Ann Moss. She was a lawyer from Jessica Jones, and I thought it was great how they brought her in. She had this very much like from Working Girl, the Sigourney Weaver character from Working Girl, just very like knows what she wants to get it, and she's not gonna let anyone get her way. And she did really great. She was really great in this. But yeah, I just felt like they could have either integrated more of the other characters, because it was hard to feel like until she came onto the scene, it was hard to feel like if we were watching things that were happening concurrently with the other characters, like Daredevil or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage. And it was like, oh, we're bringing Claire, so then you know where we are timeline wise. So this happens after this event and during this event. And it was just sort of like, well, that part was hard for me. It was like, okay, they're here, but they're here and they're here. I don't know what's going on. Can we back it up some more or change it around a little? So that was a little hard for me. I don't understand. So overall, for me, I'd say this was a great TV series. I really liked it. I took my time. I tried not to binge watch it all. I know a lot of people do that. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to like watch a few episodes, wait a few minutes, and then watch another few episodes a little later. Trying to like let the cliffhangers they create work, because that's the thing with Netflix. They drop all of the episodes all at once. Not like regular TV, like with commercials and stuff, where you have to come back every week or every few weeks to see all the episodes. So they still sort of write them in that same sort of arc of there's a cliffhanger and you have to wait to watch the next one. Well, the next one comes on in like less than 10 seconds. So it's like, oh, what's going to happen next? Oh, I can see it immediately. Which is good and bad, because then you end up binge watching as opposed to like waiting to see it the next week. But overall, yeah, I liked it. I can't wait for the next one. So the next TV series they're going to do, I'm not too sure about. There's two. They're in production, I think, with Punisher, who was in Daredevil, and then also the Defenders. So the Defenders is supposed to be Danny Rand and the Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Daredevil, Matt Murdock. So the four of them are going to come together. But the thing is, like, I don't know how they're going to do that. What's going to be the thing that ties them together? Is it going to be the hand? Because that's sort of been this overarching thing, like in the background, that we've had going on, or is it something else? So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I really do wish that they could integrate more of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the movies into the series. But ever since, I don't know how long it's been, but it almost feels like it sort of is, but isn't. Like it's another universe that sort of broke off from the movies and from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they're not really in the same universe, but they are. Like they show city skylines of New York, but you don't see the tower that was Avengers Tower really, and so it kind of can be odd. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys real soon. Oh, so a new video, a new trailer for the Justice League movie is going to be dropping this weekend. So I will definitely have my next video will be a reaction to that. So look for that soon too. All right. So thanks for watching. See you guys real soon.